is over.
Good evening again, everyone, and this is really an honor and a treat for us with our next guest that's joining us. He is a freelance journalist with Sportskeeda, and he's interviewed quite a few recognizable names, and he's also done some stuff for BBC, and he writes for What Culture. We are excited and thrilled and honored to have the one and only Gary Cassidy with us this evening. How are you, sir?
I'm great, yeah. Always a lot better after a lovely introduction like that. So thank you for that. Yeah, no, I'm doing well. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for joining us again. And I guess what we'd like to do is just have you start out with telling the folks who may not be as familiar with your work a little bit about yourself and some of the things that you've done.
Yeah. Sounds great. I'll try and go through it as quickly as possible.
Okay.
But essentially, around about a decade ago, I graduated from university doing journalism, and I kind of thought I wanted to be a journalist, but I spent time in like serious newsrooms and decided that I really absolutely hated most things about journalism. So I kind of fell away from it for a bit. Got back into it like just as a little bit of a hobby, doing music journalism. And then again, fell away from that because it was kind of, it was good going to gigs and stuff and interviewing musicians, but it was actually quite difficult to make any money from it or to do anything anywhere near serious with it. So I was like, I'll kind of put it on the back burner. My other job that I do is I actually create the subtitles for broadcast television for a load of channels in the UK and in the US and Australia as well. But there was something that I was still like, do you know what? I want to get back into journalism because I enjoy writing, I enjoy interviewing people. It's just like I wanted a kind of creative outlet for it. And let's say I didn't really care if it was like going to turn into anything. It was just I want to do it on the side. Oddly, I wrote an article. I saw that Sportskeeda were looking for at that time contributors, just anyone, but not to write like news or anything, not to do anything serious. It was just, can you write like a list or can you write like an opinion piece? Obviously, the standard has to be there as well, but they were inviting people to write. So I didn't know that you weren't to write anything about news. And oddly, I submitted an article. I always remember the first wrestling article that I submitted was John Cena had came over to the UK and he was in London and he went to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and there was a photo of him holding up a Tottenham Hotspur top. And it was just an article about that. The most nothing article ever, not about news or anything in any way, not serious in any way. But I submitted that. It went up, and then I wrote another couple of articles and ended up, what happened was I got a message to say, essentially, hey man, you're pretty good at writing. Would you want to come on board and do a bit more? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then I wrote I pretty much wrote a load of kind of similar light-hearted features and stuff for a few months. And there was a guy from New York called Darren Paltrowitz who interviewed Elias from WWE for a guitar magazine, and I covered one of his news stories for Sportskeeda. He sent me a message thanking me for doing that coverage, and I was like, no worries, man. He's like, oh, do you know what? If you want me to hook you up with anything, it's like, I always like when people say that because you do know they're trying to come from a nice place, but it almost never amounts to anything. You know they're just being polite and it's a gesture. But you're always like, oh man, thank you, I appreciate it anyway. Well, this wasn't just a gesture. It was like, oh yeah, man, I can get you an interview with either Jim Ross or Diamond Dallas Page. And I was like, geez, if I do nothing else, then interviewing one of those two names would be absolutely incredible. So I got an interview with Diamond Dallas Page. And essentially that created a monster and I got addicted to doing interviews and now that's all I love doing is interviewing people. So that's a kind of whistle-stop tour of how I started doing it. Hopefully that tells people a little bit more. Ever since then, I've just been doing interviews across a load of wrestling promotions with a load of different names and essentially just doing everything I can to be involved in wrestling.
That's awesome.
That is
amazing.
awesome.
Amazing.
Sorry about the rambling there. That was a long way.
No,
Not at
that's
all.
awesome. That's awesome. I mean, that's honestly, people. I know a lot of people reach out to you too on Twitter for advice on how to get into the wrestling journalism and being able to be a contributing writer. So to have that story and how you happen upon that's fantastic. I do want to jump. I want to jump into this real quick too, because you've interviewed people like Chris Jericho and Triple H and Rey Mysterio, and I'm leaving out a lot of them. But who has been your favorite interview?
Oh man, see, so obviously, like people like Chris Jericho and Triple H, there's a kind of big thing there where, and it wears off quite. I wouldn't say it wears off quickly, but you do realise that you actually need to be professional and do the interview. But there is always that little moment where you're like, oh my god, it's Triple H, or oh my god, it's Chris Jericho, and you do still get that little feeling. And I think like if that ever went away, I would maybe not want to do the interviews because that makes them really special. But in terms of people that have been like that, I've came away going, man, that was the best interview ever. There's one person I've interviewed twice and one I've interviewed once that I always say they're my two favourite people to interview, because you can ask, like, obviously it's fine interviewing anyone and they'll give you any kind of an answer and you can write up something on it. But these two people in particular, not that they couldn't care less what they say, but they will be ridiculously honest, and you can ask them anything on the planet and they will just tell you what they think. The first one was Matt Riddle, and he was one of the first people that I interviewed, and I was like, oh, it was just when AEW started doing their weekly television, and there's this big thing with, it's not so bad anymore, but back then it was like, you were kind of in dangerous territory to ask about rival promotions in journalism. And if it was through a particular promotion as well, most of the time they would just cut you off. It's now not that bad. We're kind of open to everyone's media trained. But Matt Riddle was like, yeah, man, I need to ask you about AEW. And he was like, what was the name of that promotion? Who? And I'm like, oh, like that's just brilliant. Like, no matter what side you're on, that's an amazing thing to hear, like, as a journalist or anyone listening to an interview. The other one is the guy I've interviewed twice, and it's Sheamus. So essentially, the first time I got to interview him was in really bizarre circumstances. I had the craziest January ever in terms of, like, I'd been doing interviews, maybe I'd been trying to do one a week. That was quite difficult, but I was doing roughly one a week at the most, sometimes a bit less, but trying to do one a week. January hit, and I went to NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2 on the Friday for the weekend for the event that was happening on the Sunday. And then I flew back to Glasgow on the Monday, which is up in Scotland, where I'm from, and then went back down to London at the very bottom of the UK to go to a BT Sport launch party for WWE's their change of supply from Sky Sports to BT. First time they changed television suppliers in 30 years of broadcasting, so they made a huge deal of it. I got invited to a launch party that had a load of wrestlers at it. They actually had some live wrestling. It was amazing, free alcohol, free food. You've got me sold on that anyway, but if I get to speak to wrestlers, then you're just sending me to heaven right there. But essentially what they'd done before that day, they had us all on a big, a double-decker bus. I don't know if that is what you would call it in America, but essentially a bus that's 2 stories, like it's the big, essentially one of them, and they decked it out all in WWE colours. It was the number 316 to BT Sport, and they had me on that bus first thing in the morning with one other person that was interviewing, and they'd done that throughout the day. They gave us all a bit of time, but they spread it out so that it was a bit more personal. You got to speak to the wrestlers, and the wrestlers I got to speak to were Charlotte Flair, Kurt Angle, Andrade, Page, and Sheamus. And Sheamus was the last one of the day. I got a load more time, or the last one, not of the day, but of my segment. I got a load of time with him. It's always like, you've already spoken to people, so you probably couldn't really care less about talking to me. But we just spoke away, got on, and everything I asked, they just gave me an answer. I was like, I know you're not trying to work me in any way. You're just telling me exactly what you think, and that's the best thing ever. So yeah, I think like just on the basis of if you're going for the standard of the interview, those two, and Chris Jericho is another one that will just tell you anything that he wants to say rather than what you want to hear, which is just incredible. So I would say, yeah, I'll try not to give you one name. I'll give you 3.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I see here that you just a couple days ago, Friday, I guess, you have a story about Sheamus in NXT UK.
Yeah, so that was the one that I done. Annoyingly, it was last week. I was actually meant to interview Sheamus one day and then Drew McIntyre the next day. And sadly, because of everything that's happening in the world right now, I know that it's not the most important thing for me to be interviewing a WWE superstar, but they were flown straight back to America just to avoid any precautions. The travel ban had just came in place for Europe. It was obviously going to follow on to the UK, so they just flew them straight back over. But I got to interview Sheamus. Essentially, pretty much just like it's to promote WrestleMania, but ask whatever you want, which is WWE are always pretty nice with that, and BT Sport are nice with that. It's like we would like you to kind of mention WrestleMania in the article, but just ask whatever you want. Cool. So I asked Sheamus about Liverpool, because he's a massive Liverpool fan. Asked him about Drew McIntyre. Asked him his thoughts on Eric Rowan's Spider review, which was pretty comical. But of course, I had to ask him about NXT UK Takeover Dublin, as in Dublin, where he's from. So I was like, oh well, if it goes ahead, that is, will we see you there? Were you asked about it? And no matter if you were asked, if you weren't, who would you like to face? And it was like, I've not been asked anything about it yet. I'd love to do it. And then the three names they gave me were Finn Balor, Walter, and Wolfgang. And I was like, count me in for any of them. Wow. I'd love to see any of them.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Oh, man, my goodness. That's awesome. So I've got a quick question for you, Gary. So I'd love to know. So I've been contemplating this a little bit myself. So from your perspective, where do you see wrestling in the next 5 years? In other words, like, does a company like AEW, do they survive? I mean, they look like they're doing really well now. And as far as WWE, are they bought out by another company like Amazon or Disney, or are they still thriving on their own down the road? Where do you see wrestling headed in the next 5 years or so?
Oh, so that is a tough one. Obviously, particularly given the current circumstances, we'll maybe put them to the side and just assume and hope that everything goes back to normal
right.
before I give my answer, and that we get back to normality as soon as possible. AEW, this is going to be controversial. If you'd asked me this, maybe even when their first episode aired, I would have said, do you know what? It's enjoyable, but I don't know if it will last. Now I'm thinking it's definitely going to last. Now I think they are here to stay. Obviously, I could be proven wrong on that, but it looks like they've got a lot of financial backing. And not only that, it seems like they do have quite a lot of backing from wrestling fans as well. I've always said it's going to be a tough one. We'll see if it gets to the point where, say, AEW want to try and compete with Raw or Smackdown rather than competing with NXT. We've already seen they've got NXT. WWE would need to do something really drastic to compete with AEW on a Wednesday night. They've tried some of those drastic things. They've put in Becky Lynch, they've put in Charlotte Flair. Finn Balor obviously has been a mainstay of the product, but they still are not really. They've been losing most of the weeks, and I hate saying losing because I don't really care. It's not a competition for me. I'm getting more wrestling, so I'm just enjoying it. Right. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they were to move to a Monday or a Friday. I'm not sure. I think they could do really well and they could compete, but I'm not certain. Right now, what I think is they're an amazing alternative. It's brilliant for everybody, fans and wrestlers, because wrestlers have leverage now, as we've seen the likes of Matt Hardy jumping ship recently, who obviously had an offer from WWE and decided not to take it, decided that he wanted the creative freedom to go to AEW. So there's definitely an appetite for it. As far as WWE, I think, there's always been the rumours. I'm a massive Disney fan. I'm going to get that out the way just now. I would love Disney to buy WWE. Mainly just because I know that they are like WWE in the way that they don't do things by halves. They put a load of money into everything. It would be available on Disney Plus, which would be incredible. I would happily do that and cancel my network subscription. But yeah, I think that rumour's always going to be there until it happens. I thought when Fox bought SmackDown, if they bought the rights to SmackDown, I guess I shouldn't say bought SmackDown, but when they bought the rights to air SmackDown live, I was like, I wonder if this is testing ground for a future relationship. I'm not sure if it was. That would be me purely speculating. But I don't know. It's an odd one. I guess it depends. Mainly depends on how the XFL goes. If that was to go really well, Vince McMahon might actually not really want to put too much time into wrestling. It's a lot of ifs and buts, but yeah, the one thing I'll say is even over the past, I'd say maybe year, even maybe 2 years, but over the last year, wrestling has changed. There's a much bigger appetite for wrestling. One thing I've noticed more, which is absolutely incredible, is I'm noticing a lot more, I might just be noticing it more, it might have happened before then, a lot more female fans interested, a lot more diverse audience. It's not just, 18 to 30-year-old guys, or as it went to the last, like, maybe couple of decades, kids. There are a lot more people watching of all ages, backgrounds. Everybody else seems to love wrestling now. So I think it's definitely in a healthy place. And I think anywhere it goes, so long as we get past this current situation, I think no matter where it goes, it's probably going to be up. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully a lot of stuff does happen because, as a journalist, I want as much wrestling news as possible.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. It's a great time to be a fan. It really is. I agree with you, man. That's a great answer. I love it. And I'm a big Disney fan too, so I completely hear you there. I'm a Star Wars and Marvel guy, so absolutely, man. I'm loving Disney Plus.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Gary, in terms of kind of the follow-up to that, let's wave a magic wand real quick and say that you're in charge of creative for WWE. What are some things that you would do to change that product so that the fans are a little happier with what's going on from a creative standpoint?
Firstly, I want to say I think a lot of people would absolutely hate to have me in charge of creative. That's one thing that probably no one would want apart from me. The main thing, and I think WWE are doing a better job of this now than they ever have before, but listening to fans. They done it. The main thing I liked that they done with the Eric Rowan thing was everybody absolutely hated that review. For me, it was probably the worst review in wrestling history, and there's been a lot of bad ones, mainly involving Hornswoggle, which this one didn't. I was like, what a terrible idea to have not a spider in the cage. I don't care that it was a spider. It just looked really bad. It looked like a cheap animatronic, Halloween decoration.
Yeah.
But the fact that WWE 1 week later were like, right, we know that was an awful decision because everyone has told us it's an awful decision. We have Drew McIntyre smash the cage. Things like that is what you need to do more of. And I always say it like, I'm fine with, I love Roman Reigns. I would actually say he's underrated, which is an unpopular opinion. But people obviously didn't like that Roman Reigns was getting such a strong push 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and they just kept going with it. And I get it, you would argue that maybe Vince McMahon maybe knows a little bit more about wrestling than the average fan does, but sometimes you just need to listen to the audience. And saying that, the one thing that I would love to do, and this has actually been teased on Twitter a little bit today, which I'm annoyed I didn't put out a fantasy booking article beforehand or a opinion article, is I want Shorty G's name to change back to Chad Gable. That is the one thing that if you ask me,
agreed.
That was another thing I asked Sheamus about, and he was like, man, I'm just glad it's not my name. But there's been a little tease on Twitter today of Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak possibly joining forces with him. I saw that.
I saw that today. Yeah.
Count me in for that. Just change his name back before we do that. But I'm going to be really biased, and obviously I would love to see Drew McIntyre as WWE champion and as the face of the company. Because he's Scottish, I need to say that.
Of course.
I have much less of a problem with Brock Lesnar as champion now than I did last year, mainly because we're seeing him a lot and he seems really invested in terms of actually putting out a great product every time he's in the ring, every time he's doing something. He's not just in it for him. It seems to be, if we think back, the thing I like to always compare, you'll remember the match a few years ago that he had with Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania, I think it was. And it just didn't seem like it was invested. It was I don't want to say a horrible match. I hate saying that, but it just wasn't really that entertaining. It's not a classic you'd go back and watch by any means. If you compare that and a few other matches it was doing around that time, they're a million miles away from even just what he done in the space of an hour at the Royal Rumble. He put over so many people, even though he was destroying them. Like I thought Nakamura looked good in that. Obviously, Keith Lee looked incredible in it, thanks to Brock Lesnar. And Drew McIntyre would not be where he was today. I keep saying I struggle to see what made Drew McIntyre the bigger babyface. If it was the stuff with Brock Lesnar or smashing the cage, the Eric Rowan cage. But no, Brock Lesnar definitely made a lot of people look like a star. If I could do anything, I would have him possibly as champion for a lot longer, but as long as it was on TV every week. Obviously, we're saying this as if TV is still a 3-hour product where it's not just highlights and stuff, which needs to be the case right now. But I would definitely say that because I always say that wrestling for me, I remember watching it growing up, and I'm the same as a lot of fans seem to be just now, where I'm not that happy when a face is the champion, because I always want the face to be chasing the championship.
Oh, yeah.
I like watching wrestling and being angry, but angry at the character on the screen rather than the actual booking. So I like seeing a heel hold the championship, and then it makes it that much more important when a face actually does win it, and you know, after a lengthy reign. So I'd like to see Brock Lesnar doing a lot more, which is something I would not have said last year. So I'll say that, yeah, Brock Lesnar and Chad Gable are the two things I would definitely change, which again is pretty odd to put those two together.
That's fantastic. No, I agree with you about the face being not being the champion. That's a great point.
Yeah.
I've just got to ask your opinion on, because we talk about this character a lot. What do you think about Bray Wyatt's character?
Oh, so if you'd have asked me this before Super Showdown,
yes, yep.
Oh,
I know. Horrible.
I've just about gotten over that. I'm not sure if I ever will completely get over it, but I've just about got there to accepting it now. But yeah, like when it first happened, when we first saw him, like I'm kind of, I always say it, like my biggest thing about wrestling is like I like the in-ring action, of course, but I love characters. Like my favourite bands growing up were like Kiss, wear a lot of makeup. Kiss. So that's, yeah, like I wear like obviously I like bands that wear a lot of like makeup. I like wrestlers that wear makeup, wear masks, look like larger than life characters. So the main thing for me is that when I seen this character, even when it was just the mask, I was like, man, that character looks insane. That looks brilliant. That looks like something that I wouldn't expect to see in wrestling. But man, I'm glad we are seeing it, because it was different. It was something that I thought was the most intriguing thing in wrestling. Like I was tuning in just to see Bray Wyatt every week. I would have been tuning in anyway, but it was the thing I was most excited about. And yeah, once we realised as well, you know, the full Jekyll and Hyde thing, where it was, you know, the Firefly Funhouse, Bray Wyatt, and then the Fiend, and they were referring to them as separate entities. I loved all that stuff. I feel like they put the championship on him too early.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need to do that. Yeah, like they didn't need the belt. But again, I'm the kind of person that I'll never go back and moan about that too much, because take every decision if it comes. Once they put the belt on him, cool, the belt's on him, right, we'll decide for there. Having him lose the title, I really wish they'd have done it in a triple threat match and not had him get pinned in any way. Just have that happen, and then have, you know, the John Cena thing happen the next night. We can just forget that it ever happened. But I don't know, the one I struggle to criticise it, because I remember Bray Wyatt when he won the WWE Championship the first time round, and how long it took to get to that point, and then how quickly that point ended, and he went back to being in obscurity. But yeah, I don't know. I'm caught in between. I still love the character. It's lost a little bit of something for me with the loss, and I know that wins and losses shouldn't matter too much in wrestling. It did for me. It kind of affected it. But I really like what they're doing. I like how they utilised the not having a crowd on SmackDown, and done the kind of shaky camera panning back and forward to see where Bray Wyatt was, have him in his normal Firefly Funhouse gear, and come out and cut a promo with John Cena. And I always say, like, there's two things in wrestling that can get you over, that are like more than any match ever could, and it's Brock Lesnar doing a facial expression or doing something, talking, because he obviously rarely talks. And the other one is a John Cena promo. And I think that promo was incredible. I'm looking
Yes.
forward to seeing the match. Hopefully the match is good. Hopefully it does something. I think the Fiend matches, I'm going to be controversial again here. I don't think the Fiend matches have actually been very good. And I say that as somebody that loves Bray Wyatt in the ring. I don't know if it's the mask, if it's just hard for him to wrestle under a mask. But I don't think the matches need to be good anyway. So it's a kind of daft criticism to have. But yeah, I love the character. Hopefully we see more from it. And the one thing I just hope it doesn't get stale. I don't know if it's starting to get stale already, but hopefully not. And hopefully WrestleMania, if it all comes to plan, hopefully they do something special. The one thing I got an email the other night, actually it wasn't an email, it was a direct message on Twitter, bizarrely, from a WWE spokesperson to say the additional news about multiple locations being used rather than just the Performance Centre. I really hope that they do something with that Bray Wyatt John Cena match and don't have it in the ring. I hope they have like some kind of maybe not like the House of Horror match that we saw with Randy Orton, but something different. Maybe just, just some kind of outdoors thing. But yeah, everybody will criticise it no matter what they do. But we'll see anyway. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I just to kind of follow up off of that. Obviously, right now there's a big to do on Twitter with all of the Cult of Wyndham stuff. I don't know if you've been seeing some of that, but But they're teasing a lot of different things. His tattoo artist and one of his friends, they've put out a couple pictures of different things, and it kind of has a Texas Chainsaw kind of feel to it. So we've obviously been speculating a lot about it, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. I'm thinking that maybe there's some type of big reveal at WrestleMania. I would really love to see that.
Yeah, I think anything that they do, just to take it another step further, like I have actually been seeing the stuff from, I think it's Kyle Scarborough is like one of the guys that done the concept for the
That's
match.
him.
Yeah,
that's him.
And yeah, so there's him and Tom Savini. Yeah, obviously his studio was the creator, but I think there's so many places that they can go from it. And we've seen that already with the stuff that was done with the Firefly Funhouse. But I think there's so many places they can go with it that, WrestleMania either has to be some kind of big moment of redemption where he beats John Cena, or it needs to progress the story. And even if that happens on the next Smackdown, if we move to Raw or something, I think just something to make it different, add a new character or do something. But yeah, I'm invested anyway. I'm excited to see what happens.
Absolutely. Who are, in terms of wrestlers that you've seen or come in contact with, not the well-known folks, but for folks that are listening, who are some wrestlers that are up and coming that you feel like need some spotlight?
Oh, right. I'll kind of do this in two tiers, because I never know how many people in America actually know of or watch a lot of NXT UK. So I would say for that, I would love to see more of Gallus. And again, this is me being Scottish and biased, but I would love to see more of Gallus in America doing stuff on NXT, because Joe Coffey, Wolfgang and Mark Coffey, I've been watching them for years in ICW, which is the local promotion here in Glasgow, and they are amazing. But there's one other person in NXT UK that I would say that I absolutely love, or two actually. I'll throw two in. I would love to see more of. A-Kid would be one. He is incredible. He was he had a few big viral videos before he hit WWE. He's a young guy from Spain, and he is just absolutely amazing. He's being mentored right now by Tyler Bate, which, that tells you all you need to know, because Tyler Bate is outstanding. But there's him and Zaya Brookside I'd love to see more of. Whatever I've seen of her, I've been like, oh man, she's really good. But we don't really see much of her. Aside from that, there's in ICW, which again, I think this is going to be ICW, a lot of their talents end up going to WWE, just because the NXT UK thing's happening just now, and there's a lot of people, William Regal's always got his eye on ICW as one of the big promotions in the UK. There's a guy here called Leighton Buzzard, and I'm going to say that yet again, my Disney thing comes in here. He loves Disney, and so much so that he's got a kind of odd pirate gimmick. That it comes out to a song that sounds a lot like the Pirates of the Caribbean theme tune, wearing like a plague doctor mask. But once he gets in the ring, like, he just looks like nothing else you would see in ICW, because, you know, you can imagine Scottish wrestlers kind of, not a lot of Scottish wrestlers are very slim toned guys with like long silver hair and really kind of like boyish good looks, rather than being like a big rugged guy. That's what this guy's like. And whenever he steps in the ring, it's like, I know he's going to be flying about in the space of the next 2 seconds. But now, like, it was like the big baby face. Everybody's like, this guy needs a push. He's similar in the ring to, I would say, like Ricochet. But now he's actually done his first, since being in ICW and since being like the next big thing, he's turned into a heel now. And it's amazing because it, like, he's given it the full, oh, you guys were all chanting for me, and I was leading you along the full way because I was just using you to get to this next big platform. And like, I love it when wrestling takes a little bit of a real aspect and just kind of plays off of something that's actually happening. And that actually did get him quite a bit of heat, because obviously a lot of the fans were sympathetic towards him. He's a young guy that moved up to Scotland from England at the age of 16 with like no money, just to try and do wrestling, and now has accomplished it, but because of the fans. And that's like one thing that I'm always like, yeah, okay, everybody would get behind that. And now that he's throwing it back in the audience's face, I'm like, oh, you're amazing in the ring, but your character work is now great too. So yeah, Leighton Buzzard is definitely one to check out. He is absolutely incredible.
I'll be checking him out on YouTube then, because that sounds amazing. I enjoy all of the, you know, the NXT UK, NXT. I really enjoy seeing those wrestlers perform. So I'm really interested to learn about new wrestlers. So, you know, thank you for telling us about that, because now you have me intrigued.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always something and we don't see a lot of that here.
No.
So yeah, so it's always great to hear about it, because yeah, obviously you hear about NXT UK, but just to hear about some of the up and coming people from, you know, that side of the world is always a great thing. And yeah, like Jeff said, I'm definitely intrigued myself. I'm gonna check that out as well. That's awesome.
Excellent.
So let me what advice would you give to someone? And I mean, I come from a bit of a journalistic background too. Unfortunately, I never followed up on it, but I used to write for newspapers. What are newspapers, right? Most of the people today aren't even going to know what a newspaper is. But
hey, I still work for one. Hey, now.
Well, see, there you go. I did some writing for sports, some sports journalism back in my day. But what advice would you give an aspiring writer or somebody who's coming up and wants to get involved in that kind of business? What advice would you give to them? Because I know it's very different from when I was younger, and you know, the path you had to follow. So what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to come up and do what you do?
Oh, definitely. What you've touched on there is it's so different from what it was. Like, even when I first started out, would have been maybe about 12 years ago now. And obviously the internet was a thing 12 years ago, so it wasn't like a million miles away, not as much as it was maybe 20, 30 years ago. But the one thing I'll say, while it makes it harder in a way that there's so many people trying to do it or doing it, it does make it easier, and that initial platform is right on your doorstep. So the one thing that I'll say is, the main thing I should say is it's never too late, you know, like no matter what age you are, and it's also never too early. No matter what age you are, just do it. If you want to do something, just give it a try, especially if it's writing an article, because this is going to sound bad, and I'm actually probably going to be putting myself down here by saying it, but anyone can write. Fair enough, there's, you know, different standards of understanding the language and punctuation and spelling, but everybody can research this. Specifically now that we've got Google, there's no reason why you should be spelling a wrestler's name wrong, because you can Google it. So it's really easy to actually do the basic thing of writing an article. Especially if you're passionate about something, it's actually really easy to write about something you're passionate about, because much like talking about it, you'll start and then a lot of other things will pop in your head and you can just get them all out on paper. And then I guess it's the tidying up process of that, and learning about things like sentence structure and you know, not having a sentence that's 100 words long, because you're going to either look like you're Russian or you're going to look like you're just spitting out all your thoughts in one go. So that's the kind of thing that I'm like, you know, you can learn about those things. I don't think, I did learn about them, but I think you could learn about them not by going to uni. Again, that's probably putting down like the degree part of it, but I've always said, in this current day and age, you don't really need a degree. It does help, but you don't need one. So that'd be the first thing I'd say. The other thing is, once you actually start doing something, and I was actually talking to someone today who is a Twitter follower I had that actually asked me for advice, and they're getting somewhere with this, where this advice, I'll say it, but then I'll put a little bit afterwards to say why it's a good idea and a bad idea. So I always said at the start, if you're not sending emails, then you're wasting time. And that is just a case of when I started doing interviews, if someone doesn't reply to your email, then there is no difference from you having not sent that email in the first place. But you've always got that chance that they'll reply and go, oh yeah, I've got some time, I'll happily do an interview. It might lead to something, but if you don't send email, it's never going to lead to anything. Actually, yeah, it's like the thing for me is, I realised recently that you can take a day off. So I will say that. I'm not telling everybody to work themselves into the ground just to try and get an interview, because, the life is important as well. It's important to not just work, which is something I learned recently. But if you're not sending those emails, you're never going to get a reply back. So maybe take, say, even one day and just go through Twitter. This is something I still do. Go through Twitter and see what wrestlers have an email account in their bio. If it's a bookings email, they're probably still going to be happy to get an interview request in there if they are a smaller kind of name. And even at that, the bigger names normally will still do media duties anyway, off their own back. So go through Twitter, find out email addresses, and then just draft up an email saying who you are, what you're doing, why you want to interview them. Make sure it's laid out professionally, obviously spell check it and all that stuff. But once you've got that, take a note of, essentially like an old school mailing list. Take a note of where their name would be, like a generic name, and then just replace that and put in a nice personalised sentence about that wrestler and why you're specifically emailing them, so it doesn't look like a chain mail, even though it kind of is, because you're using your same details about. I always have, my name's Gary, I'm a freelance writer, writing for this, and this. The people I've interviewed are these and these, and then I normally say as well, I've got this many reads, and the website I'd be writing for has this many likes on Facebook. But obviously that kind of stuff, it goes to the bottom, because it doesn't really matter. People are normally happy to give you 10 minutes anyway. Like if they're doing media, then what's 10 minutes to them? So I always say that, stick down a load of names, just send out the emails, no matter how big or how small the name is. I'll tell you, I've had a lot of big names that I didn't expect to reply to me and a lot of smaller names that I did expect a reply from have not. So never be like, the big names aren't always the unachievable ones. Nothing's unattainable in wrestling. And I say that as someone who obviously hasn't interviewed The Rock or John Cena, so they're still kind of unattainable, but nothing's unattainable in wrestling. You can probably get a chance at interviewing most people, or at least like one of your top 10 list at some point. So I always say that, just send out emails, keep writing. That's the one thing, you can't say you're a writer if you're not writing. So just keep writing articles. Another thing, obviously, you could write for anything. You could make your own blog, make your own website. But if you want to write for a website, then contact the website. It's pretty simple. And again, there's been websites that I've contacted that they've been like, we would happily have you write for us, but we can't pay you. Some people would be fine with that. I always think you should value your work a wee bit, especially if you're bringing value to the company. But if you're younger, or not younger, but younger in terms of your writing experience, if you've not wrote much, then you might be fine with that. If not, there are a load of websites out there that will happily pay you for your work. So just go through, Google some wrestling news websites. They'll probably be happy to have contributors, especially at this time, because everyone wants more content. So I would say, yeah, just effort. Like that's it sounds very simple when I say it, but just effort. Essentially, just research, check out Twitter, because Twitter's an amazing thing in this day and age. A lot of the wrestlers, you don't even need to email. A lot of them have their DMs open, so you can just send a direct message. Again, if they don't reply, they don't reply. The worst thing that happens on Twitter, sadly, is they will block you for being annoying. But if they don't do that, then you're in the same place you started from. And again, I feel like I've rambled with that, but I always do welcome it that on Twitter, if anyone wants to send me a message, I will send them a little message back, and normally try and point them in the direction as well of websites to write for and stuff like that. So I'm always open to answer any questions. I'm aware that I'm not the highest level journalist, but I feel like I'm in a position where I can give people that aren't like at the standard of writing for a website yet, I can give them some advice on how to start doing that. So hopefully I can help out with that.
That's awesome.
That
oh
is.
Man, that's
That's
fantastic advice. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, absolutely agree with what you said. And people wouldn't think of it's funny you mentioned, because Twitter is a fantastic tool, but a lot of people in this day and age don't think of email at all really anymore.
No.
So I mean, that's really a great point. I mean, you never know unless it goes back to the whole saying, you never know unless you try. If you're not going to give that a shot, you're not going to go after someone, you're really going to have no shot. So it's better, sending them that email than not doing anything.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I can't remember who said this incredibly corny quote, but it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
absolutely.
Absolutely. It's corny, but it's true. So you might as well, take the advice.
No, so true. So true. Definitely holds up today as well as it did back in the day. That's awesome.
That's right. Yeah, and speaking on that, while we have you, we're going to wrap up here in a little bit, because we know you've got some things to do. But in terms of social media, how can folks get in contact with you, Gary?
Yeah. But no, firstly, I want to say, I'm like never the kind of person I like, I've not got this time or that time. I'll always try and make time. So if you ever want me back on, just give me a wee message. I'm always happy to come on and do something, as long as we can figure out a wee bit of time. And then, it's easy for me to talk on the phone. So that's definitely welcome. I appreciate the opportunity as well to come on and talk. But yeah, on Twitter, sadly, I'm not at Gary Cassidy, because there's a guy with like 20 followers who's not given up that handle very easily. So sadly, I think it's fine. I think now that I tweet enough that if you type in Gary Cassidy, I think I'm the first one that comes up. There used to weirdly be an Irish wrestler with the same name. He's thankfully retired, and I say that not from a place of malice, but just because it makes it easier for people to find me. But yeah, on Twitter, if you type in Gary Cassidy, you should find me. If not, it's Conscious Gary. It's CONSCIOUSGARY. And I'm on all social media as that as well, so you'll easily be able to find me on Instagram if you want to see irrelevant photos that have nothing to do with wrestling, or if you want to read some interviews. Yeah, again, if you type in Gary Cassidy, it should hopefully come up with something on Google. If not, just follow it with Sportskeeda, and that should take you to my profile. Other than that, go to sportskeeda.com and just type in Gary Cassidy, and it will take you right to my profile. You might need to do a bit of scrolling, but yeah, again, if you think that I've interviewed someone, or if you're curious if I've interviewed someone, send me a tweet, and if I have, I'll link you to the article. And if not, I'll probably sit and cry because I've not interviewed them. But yeah, just give me a shout on social media about any questions whatsoever. I'm normally happy to answer absolutely anything, unless it's something completely ridiculous.
Awesome.
Amazing. Awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Gary, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like I said, it's a real pleasure and an honor to have you join us. And, thank you for all of your openness, because that's big. And, for people that are looking to get into wrestling journalism and, hear some of those stories is fantastic. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, Gary, thank you. Thank you very much, Gary. We really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
No, thank you, guys. As I said, I always love talking about wrestling, particularly, in this time that we're going through where it's uncertain. It's fine to talk about wrestling because it's a great escape for everyone. And, if you're not talking about wrestling, you could be doing something a lot less productive. But yeah, I really appreciate the time and just you letting me talk and still being there and not hanging up on me because I've been rambling too much. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
All right, Gary. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Take care.